Well, I guess we can jump into this and like get
Yeah.
started. How did we initially meet? I think we met via social media.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds
yes,
about
that's a
right.
fact. It was
Yeah.
definitely via social media. That's probably going to be the trend for a lot of people that I have on here. It'd be via social media.
I mean, that's
Um,
a good part of social media. There's a lot of bad shit, but the good part is the good people you meet.
yes, making connections,
Right.
and I guess it's a form of networking and just, creating relationships that are fruitful for both parties.
Correct.
So, yeah, we've been cool for a while, which is kind of
Yeah.
time goes by very quickly. It is nuts. It is absolutely nuts because I was like prepping for like another episode that I need to do with like a longtime friend of mine.
Yeah.
And like I was just like scrolling through her Instagram to like do research or whatever, and then it was like, oh yeah, like I turned 30 years old, and I'm like, wait, I knew you since you was like 20 something. Like that's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. I'm about to hit 30. Ah, gang, gang.
Wild times, but I'm on the other side. I'm on the other side. So I wanted to talk about you growing up in Marcy. So like as somebody who didn't grow up in Marcy, I'm originally from like the Flatbush, East Flatbush area. So it's like you hear about Bed-Stuy do or die from like the
Right.
90s, but at the same time that kind of talk started to like die down in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and then
Gentrification.
gentrification. So you don't really, unless you live there or there frequently, which I wasn't, like you
Yeah.
don't really know how Bed-Stuy changed over that time. But like how was it growing up in Marcy specifically?
That's a really good question. I've never been asked this question, so thank you. I remember being so like I remember being so like ashamed or embarrassed because of like what the media or like what society would look at project people, which granted there are some who,
Hmm.
you know, they
They follow certain stereotypes.
they do follow certain stereotypes, but then there's me who I wasn't really the girl that would be out and about. I was always home. I lived with my grandmother, so seeing that sense of community within like the relationship she built in Marcy and
Hmm.
how when she was down and out, seeing them, at least the people that really loved her and appreciated her, seeing them like come through, help out if we were low on food. So that sense of community that now that I live alone, I don't really have. It makes me appreciate Marcy so much more. Of course, it was so much negative. I
Hmm.
remember, shootouts, the arguments. It was cops all the time. It's the projects at the end of the day, but I remember always thinking about the negative. And now that you ask me this question, it's like the community. Growing up in
Right.
Marcy taught me the true meaning of community. And Kevin and I were talking about this not too long ago, and he was talking about like that sense of community, and I was like, oh shit, he's right. And
Hmm.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that now more than ever.
That makes a lot of sense. With that being said, was there ever a point, or it's a two-folded question?
Hmm.
Did you realize that you were living in an impoverished community? And when did you make that realization, or like what was that moment? It was like, wait, this isn't normal.
Oh yeah, just like seeing the drug addicts, seeing crack pipes around, seeing sometimes I would eat the same meal, and
Hmm.
it made me realize like, oh shit, yeah, this is poverty, even to the point where I also grew up. I had a short period of time where I lived in the shelter as well. So being in Marcy, it's like, yeah, this is poverty, but I have a solid roof over my head as opposed to the shelter. I'm sharing that, and I don't know if tomorrow is promised. So like it hit me when I lived there. I think I was there from 1999,
Hmm.
like 95, 99. I want to say like 2000. Once I started making more sense of life, it hit me where I was.
Was there like a specific moment or instance where it's like, okay, things are different outside of my neighborhood? Because I remember, and I hope I'm quoting this correctly and
Mhm.
it's accurate. I think I remember reading Jay-Z's autobiography like years ago. I think Decoded.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
one that has like that, I don't even know what you call it, but like the, I can't even describe it really. But I remember reading that, and I think there was a quote in there, or there was a part in that book where he mentioned like, the neighborhood and everything, like the environment itself, like it was so, that's what you saw every day, so it was so normal for him, so you don't even
Mhm.
rationalize like this is not the way that people should be living. And I think it wasn't until like maybe the first time he actually took the J train to Wall Street, and
Mhm.
then he saw like people in suits,
Mhm.
people clearly have money, and then he was like,
Mhm.
oh shit, like this is how people really live. Like you don't have to sell
Yeah.
drugs, you don't have to, live in certain ways. So do you have something that you could recall, like, oh, maybe I went to this neighborhood or I went somewhere else, and it's like, well, I didn't even know people were able to do this.
Yeah, I think it started when I first started working in retail because I had to go into the city. So seeing that type of lifestyle, I was like, oh, there's so much more out there than what, you know, I thought. Public assistant. Okay, I know that like in the projects, I know that the government will hold me down like for this
Mm-hmm.
short, like that. I knew that was normal. But then like when I started working retail, I was like, oh wait, like I could be in corporate. Oh, I can
Mm-hmm.
be in fashion. Oh, I do belong here. And building up those conversations with different people from outside of my culture too made me realize like that opened the door for me.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you have those experiences and you start to, I think you get those wake up calls once you start to interact with people who don't come from similar backgrounds, and you start to
right.
see like how they carry themselves, how they speak, how they think, and then it's like, oh, okay, like there's a different way of life that is
Mm-hmm.
out there that I'm not familiar with or used to.
I was like 16 when I realized that. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a while. Some people it takes them even longer. Like they'll still be their 20s, 30s, and they still are like products of their environment. And then for anybody that follows you on social media, like everybody is very clear, or everybody knows how close of a relationship you have with your mother. And
Uh-huh.
then I know you've mentioned it, whether it's on previous shows that we've collaborated on or just even private conversations that we've had of like, your father not being around and
Right.
having a certain, I don't want to call it disdain, but like, yeah, basically a disdain for somebody, walking out on your family,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically you. So a couple questions that I had circulating around that was like, have you, well, no, before I even go there, have you and your mother ever had a conversation about that? Because I have an ex
Mm-hmm.
who, similar situation, she never knew her father, and anytime that in the past she tried to ask her mom about who he is, what kind of individual he was, or whatever, it was kind of like,
Mm.
we don't talk about that.
Mm-hmm. It was like that in the beginning. She
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and it took me to go to therapy to like really have that full conversation with her, but she kind of did it in a very, I don't want to say selfish way, but what the way she thought was normal then to
Right.
like just drop it on me at the age of 8. Like what was I supposed to know about like cheating and all that other stuff, right? So like I knew there was problems there at the age of 8, but like when we had the conversation, it was always, his name was the dickhead. So it's like, oh, we don't talk about, yeah, we don't talk about the dickhead, or I don't want to hear his name. Or I remember when I went to her and I was like, I think I was like 15. I was like, I want to confront her. I need answers. I want
Mm-hmm.
to know why. I only know what you share so far, and I feel like you're not even telling me the whole truth. So like
Right.
that was the issue. Oh, I don't know why you want to waste time. It was like a big argument for that. But with therapy and with the right tools, I was able to sit with her and fully have that conversation with her, getting to know her as a woman, making her feel comfortable, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just seeing her as my mom, but like as a woman, and having that conversation with her. And that was so like, oh, it was like a big weight off my shoulder. Like, yes, we can finally have this conversation as adults, not with just anger. just as adults, emotion aside, let's have this conversation. That was really good. But that took 29 years in the making.
I mean, it takes time because it's like, you not necessarily make this decision, but it's like as two consenting adults, you commit
Right.
an act that now has like a lifelong responsibility behind it. And so for somebody to not hold up their end of the deal is kind of like that's very, very jarring,
Exactly.
especially when we're talking like we previously speaking about, the environments that you're growing up in. It's hard to raise a child, period, let
Period.
alone when you're in a situation that's not necessarily ideal. So with that being said, I'm going to also assume that through therapy, you've learned to like reconcile your emotions when it comes to your, I guess for lack of a better phrase, sperm donor in this
Right.
instance. So it's like I feel like I vaguely remember, anytime that you would bring them up, it was with a lot of anger.
Oh yes.
But I would assume now that you've learned to like relinquish that because you don't want to carry that with you anytime, it may cross your mind or somebody may ask or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I think there is a point I'm not there yet fully. Like I'm still
Mm.
in therapy with that. I recently, I think like 2 years ago or a year ago, I bumped into him randomly and
Wow.
that like fueled a little bit, like not even a little bit, a lot. It fueled a lot of trauma. So I don't think I'm necessarily there, but at some point before I start like my own family, I will like to get there because I don't want to start a new chapter with build up emotions.
Hmm.
At some point I do need to like fully release it and release him and go about my way. But there's just still a couple of unsaid things that I still need to let him know.
Mm. And did he recognize you
No,
at
that's the
that?
shit that pissed me off. He did not.
I mean, was he ever present in any capacity?
Right after like I want to say the last time that I really like sat and spoke with him was when I was 16. After that, I never saw him after that
Mm.
till like
Wow.
recently. And like he's like it's like he said my name and then like I turned around and like he was like shocked, like he didn't realize. Obviously, he didn't realize me, but it
Hmm.
was that shit. Oh my God, that shit blew my like. I was really pissed. I came home really pissed that day.
I can imagine. It's kind of like that episode of Fresh Prince, the classic one that everybody
Yeah,
that
that's
goes
why that
viral.
shit gets me emotional.
Yeah, because I think it's one thing for you abandon your family and just
Hmm.
never return versus now you're like somewhat inconsistent, like you pop up every so often, and it's like that is very jarring to everybody involved, the
And then
mother, the child. Like
right,
that's nuts. Like also now that I think about it, like what I found out to be nuts was like Terrell Owens didn't grow up with his dad, and literally his father lived across the street.
yeah, that shit was wild.
Like,
That's a big fuck you, like that.
yeah, like you're a
That's
deadbeat and you're across the street. Like I could literally be at your house every single day of
every
my life.
single day of my life, right?
Like you have to be a very sick individual to kind of like operate in that sort of
No, yeah,
respect.
seriously. Just I think what frustrates me more is the fact that like I mean everybody deserves their second chance, but like him flaunting his like new family like you wasn't just a piece of shit is what feel like boils me because if you can try with that, you could
Hmm.
have. I knew you had the effort to do it. You're just a fucking coward, and just admit it. I'll be so much happy if he can just stand there and fully tell me in my face I am a coward.
Yeah, like
Finally.
I dropped the ball. I did
That's
wrong by
all I
y'all.
want.
Like
Accountability.
there's
That's all I
accountability.
want.
Yeah, 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 yeah. If that never happens, if he never owns up to it, or if you're unable to like reconcile with him, do you feel as though, and maybe you don't even have the answer to this right now, but do you feel
Hmm.
as though you can let that anger go and move on with your life and like you said, like start your own family without having those emotions? Or is that just something that you at this point right now you feel like if this doesn't happen, there's always going to be some level of like hurt there.
Yeah, there's definitely gonna be some level. Like I think the only way that I'll be forced to like fully move on for it if it's he died and they tell me, "Oh, he been passed away," then I'll be tight because I'm never really gonna get that opportunity.
Right,
And now I'm
right.
kind of forced to release it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there'll still be some type of like unhealed wounds of just like not holding yourself accountable. And I feel like I have a like a demanding type of way about me. So like I never wanna have the word accountability trigger me
Hmm.
because I didn't close that chapter.
Hmm. Yeah, I could respect that. I think it's definitely tough, like, because once you become an adult, you understand how much responsibility is bestowed upon us, and then when you know that an adult, like, has failed in that aspect, there's really no way of like reconciling that. And
Right.
it's kind of like, hey, you brought me here without, I know that's a joke online, like,
No, but like it's a
you
fact.
brought me here without my consent, and now you're willingly choosing not to do your job. And it's kind
Right.
of like,
Like it's my
bro,
fault you was irresponsible. Like you willingly
yeah,
brought me here and now you
yeah.
got the nerve to leave me? Nah.
Yeah.
Like
Like, funny enough, I think it was on TikTok. I saw a TikTok from like this old Sydney Poitier movie, and it
hmm
was basically the same sort of similar premise in terms of like holding his father in the movie accountable, and he's like telling his father like, "Hey, I can't live for you. You brought me here without, my
hmm
consent. I didn't ask to be here. So it's like the
Right.
choices and decisions I make are for the betterment of me. Like, I
Right.
don't live to appeal to you in any sort of capacity." So it, it's, yeah, it's a very tough situation when it comes to that. But for the last part of, unraveling a little bit who you are and your
Yeah.
family, I think it was like a couple years ago, you shared also on your social media your sister and her sexual orientation. I don't want to quote any specific one because I don't recall and I don't want to get it
hmm
wrong. But of course, she's a part of the LBGT community.
Yes.
So the questions I had were regarding to like, what were the things that you learned about yourself with that? Because we all were young at some point. There's a level of ignorance that we have, especially as
Oh,
young
absolutely.
people, when it comes to sexuality, especially when we're talking about like growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s.
It's
Yeah, like
the
there's a lot of homophobia that we all
so much.
supported because we were
So
just
much.
young and just
Young, and
dumb.
that's what we thought was okay. We saw our
Right.
folks
It
do it.
wasn't as socially acceptable back
Right.
then as it is now. So what were some things that you had to like learn about yourself or maybe even unlearn? And then what was something that you had to learn about her specifically?
Funny enough, it wasn't really so much of me having to unlearn because I had a cousin that lived with me that was gay and like I was
Mm.
already introduced to that lifestyle. The drag shows, the ballrooms. I never physically went to any ballrooms, but like I remember going to like a couple drag shows. So like I already knew about it. And I
Mhm.
also had working in retail, you get introduced to, different types of people. So
Right.
I feel like that's why my sister would felt comfortable coming out and telling us that she's into, both guys and girls. But
Mm.
at the time, her first like relationship was with a girl. I don't know why, it's such a young ass age, but whatever. It was it was definitely like having to give her the space to have her, bumps on the road and figure
Mhm.
that out than always being the bigger sister and be like, no, this is the way, X, Y, and Z. So, because I don't know, like as far as girl and girl, I've, of course, when I was in college, but that wasn't in a relationship kind of way. It was just like, oh
Right.
yeah, I want to do it. So like, I never knew in that, but it was always like, as long as love is there, if you have a good feeling what type of person you are to love someone, then you
Mhm.
should be fine.
Right.
But yeah, she had to learn, but it was never any issues for me. I was already introduced to that world, so thank God for that.
And did your mom take it well?
Oh yeah, she was super supportive. My mom was like, "Girl, I knew." It was It was one of those moments where my mom would be like, I feel like Ari has something she wants to tell us, but she don't want to tell us because you, Vero. And I'm like, me, but what about me? But that's because I always had an adult relationship with my sister, no matter what age. I always spoke to her like a person, a grown person. Because
Not
if
like
I
a
don't do
child.
not like I never treated my sister like a child, never.
That's what's up. And kind of the comment I'm about to make kind of ties to the previous conversation we were talking about with like adults. But
Hmm.
I find like now having conversations with my mom and like I don't think in general we speak enough about adulting adults and like I'll have conversations with my mom now and she'll say certain things and it's like, Mom, I love you, but that was mad ignorant and like you're a little bit too concerned about things that have nothing to do with you.
Hmm.
You have too much of a strong emotion or a strong opinion about
Hmm.
something that doesn't involve you.
Right.
And like
No.
I forgot what we were discussing specifically that made her bring this up, but she said something along the lines of like, yeah, if sometimes I'm on a train and I see like a same sex couple and they're kissing, like it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, but that's the same thing that a same sex couple or somebody who's whatever orientation they are, they could say the same thing about heterosexual couples that
Hmm.
kiss. And it's like, I dead ass told her, I was like, they didn't ask you to join in. So it's like,
Why?
why are you feeling so strongly about this? And it was
Right.
kind of like, well, that's just how I feel or whatever. And I was like, so what would you have done if I was homosexual or
Hmm.
whoever else in the family was homosexual? And then, when you're dealing with one baby boomers and you're dealing with people with Caribbean roots, it's kind of like
Hmm.
however they were raised and how they see the world,
That's
that's
the
just the
way.
way it is. Like
That's
there's
just
no
the way.
changing it.
Right. We just
And
have to accept it.
yeah, and I told her I was like, yo, if this is really how you thought, and if I was somebody that was gay, like I probably would just disown my relationship with you and never
Hmm.
speak to you or my father or whoever. So
Hmm.
and then it's the classic case of like instead of like, oh, okay, like I can understand your point, it was like, oh, I won't talk about this again, and it's like, all right,
I done
you
hit a
got
nerve. My
it,
bad.
yeah, you got it. I ain't got the time. But of course, most will know you for blogging, your fashion sense. Now,
Yes.
a bit of lifestyle as well, like the things that
Hmm.
you indulge in, beauty or whatever.
Yes.
You started blogging in 2012.
Hmm.
Then you started taking fashion from, I guess, a more professional sense in like 2016 ish. I know that your mom was a big influence,
Absolutely.
90s fashion, and then New York fashion. Like, I guess summarize all of that for me, if possible, of like being influenced and then like going into like, you know what, I want to do this.
Hmm. Yeah. So I started blogging in 2012. This is again like during the Devil Wears Prada era, the Gossip
Mm-hmm.
Girl era. So like fashion was paving the way. Alexander McQueen, like it was hitting the road. So like seeing all those things and like, all right, I want to look like that girl. How can I do that within my own budget? So going thrifting when I was introduced to that. And then one of my friends was like, yo, why don't you share like this information? Like you should definitely share this information. Which is when I started blogging, but more towards 2016. But that's when Instagram was out. So like I would always just post my photos and like
Right.
have my mom would take the photos with me. We'll be out like at 6 a.m. just like, Ma, I need this photo before you go to work. Like and I got class at like 8 a.m. So like finding that time to just post the pictures and then transition into okay, now we're going into blogger territory. I grew up in like Tumblr, the whole AIM era where you can like make up your stories and create stories with other people. And Tumblr, that was like my mood board. So like blogging came so naturally to me
Mm-hmm.
that it was just like second language. Like, oh, this is simple. Let me just start that, and the rest is history. I'm glad I, I jumped into that fear, which is crazy because like I let fear so much take over, and then I think about that moment, like, yo, you did that jump, you did that, then you can do that again.
Mm. Was there a specific moment in your life that made you relinquish that fear or stop letting fear control you so much?
When I saw that there was money to be made, I was, yeah,
Well, That would do it.
Oh, yeah, when I saw how much you can get paid, I was like, oh, nah, okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah, let's take this
Yeah, yeah,
serious. Let's make
yeah.
some money.
Fear who? I
Right,
don't. We don't know her.
right,
We don't
right.
know her. So I want to talk about something that, now that I'm thinking about it, is completely absurd.
Hmm.
So for those who don't know, like I previously had a podcast and I had you on. You mentioned something specifically of like you're the type to stop somebody wherever they're at if you see a piece that they're wearing that you
Oh
like,
yeah,
and you'll ask them like, "Oh, where'd you get this? Where'd you get that?"
absolutely.
And I feel like that is a woman thing that women are completely comfortable in doing, but
Yes.
men will never do that. Or if they do, it's very rare. Like the most a man will be like, yo, that nice kicks or a dope jacket or whatever the
Hmm.
case is. But they'll never ask like where you got something.
Nah, that's so true.
Me personally, I would. First of all, I don't even look at men for fashion sense. Like I don't pay attention to dudes in general. But then if somebody I saw was like, oh, okay, like they got a cool fit on, I would never think like, oh, let me ask him where he got this piece or where he got that
Okay.
piece.
Yeah. No, I love doing it. And I love it when people ask me and I always tell them. If I can remember, I always tell them.
Yeah. If somebody asked me, I think I would lie and be like, yo, it was I would lie and be like, yo, it was a gift, bro. I don't even know. I don't even know. But that's
That's
just
so
the petty
funny.
in me. That's the petty in me. Because you know what it is? I hate when I see somebody else wearing something that I own. I like being an individual to the utmost degree. Of course, there's
Hmm.
certain shit like you just can't avoid. Like everybody has Jordans, everybody has certain trendy
Right.
sneakers or
Right.
whatever. But like articles of clothing, like I don't want to see anybody in the same jacket as me. I don't want to see anybody in the same sweaters that I may have or whatever the case is. Like,
I
nah,
feel that.
dog, nah, don't ask me nothing. Don't ask me nothing. Because nothing disturbs me more than when I do see somebody in something that I own and then they don't
Hmm.
style it accordingly or they don't take
Nah,
care of
that
their
shit pisses
clothes.
me off too.
And
That
then I'm
shit
like,
pisses me
yo,
off.
like I'm still gonna wear my stuff, but then it's like, yo, you ain't got no razzle dazzle. You just out here just walking dead, yo. Like what's going on, bro?
No, that's a fact. I mean, I think another reason why I love it when people ask me where I get things, a lot of my shit is like secondhand, like thrifted. So I know you can't get this again. So it's
The
like
cheat code.
this,
The
which is why I'm
cheat
like, oh yeah,
code.
I thrifted this. Oh, Seven Wonders or Beacon's Closet. You can go, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna
This is
find
the
it.
only one in that size. It probably don't not even my size. I had to like finesse it a little bit.
Right.
That's the cheat code. Speaking of that, I feel like over time things have changed in the fashion sense, which
Oh.
is as it should. But I feel like there was a point in time where, and I still feel like a part of this does happen, but I
Hmm.
think there was a point in time where like everybody kind of like looked the same and dressed the same and had like the same pieces, whatever the
Oh
case
yeah.
is.
Oh
And now
yeah.
that you have instances of people wanting to be stand out more, now you got people just going above and beyond, and not like a good above and beyond. It's like they're finding the most absurd, random, and fashion is subjective. So let me
It
throw that
is.
out there. But I also feel like it don't matter who wore this. This is not a good piece.
Exactly.
Like I don't know. Just is that something you will see from your end? Is it something that I'm? That's just me making stuff up.
Listen, nothing gets me mad. Nothing like nothing gets me mad when I know I see these girls in their Sheins and their Fashion Novas or
Mm,
their the Amazon. Sorry, I'm name dropping, but in these brands and they call themselves like fashion influencer or like no, you're you're not that.
mm,
That's
yeah.
not the level. Like
So you're basically saying, in your opinion, that you can't call yourself a fashionista or a trendsetter or a tastemaker in any capacity if you shop fast fashion.
no, absolutely not. Because what is unique about that? I see that same outfit and within a 10 blocks radius, I guarantee you I'll see that outfit about 4 or 5 times. So how does that make you different?
Fair, fair, fair. And then what about the people that like have to stand out and they'll get like the craziest random piece and it's like, yo, bro,
Like you
this
trying
is
to be
hideous.
different.
Yeah, like this is
Yeah.
hideous. Like, what are you
Now you
doing?
forcing it. Now you
Yeah,
just forcing
yeah.
it.
Like you,
Um,
I feel like the whole "I'm gonna be different" thing or "I'm different" is like a trend, and so in order to do
and
that,
that's the
you really,
problem.
yeah, like you got to go
The
hard with
problem
it.
with and that's the problem with fast fashion is that a lot of the times you're buying these pieces because this other person told you to buy them, but what about that piece makes it you? Like how are
Hmm.
you representing yourself in that piece? Okay, sure, I have this tank top that I know 10 other girls have it. How can I make it different? And that's where people struggle with. They struggle with their own identity
Mm,
because they're following what 10 other influencers are telling them, you need to get this top right now because it's on sale and this is how you need to wear it.
mm,
No, it's okay. If this is how she's wearing it, cool. How can I change that and make it more me though?
mm.
That's
See
the
this.
problem.
This is why you at the position that you're at. You different. All right, all
And
right.
like I was just talking about this on my trip because a lot of the some of the girls were asking me for advice and I'm like, another trend is like intentional, right? But so many people are intentional that they don't really pay attention.
Not you dropping bars.
Like, they don't pay attention on what they want to be intentional about. They just know, oh, let me just set
Mm,
this intention, but for why? And
right.
why are you asking that? Like,
Mm,
that's the issue when it comes to fashion. It's like, okay, yeah, I got this crazy expensive bag.
mm-hmm.
Now I'm the it girl. No,
Yeah, yeah,
no, you're not.
yeah,
Like, huh?
yeah.
I'm confused. Who said that?
Eh, Listen, I would consider an expert in your field. We all follow some trends.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
what were some trends that you could think of or you can recall that was like, all right, yeah, I was on that wave too. Like I was doing that.
The red trend for sure. That's a trend that's popping up this season, but I've been doing that since like
The red
2018.
trend?
Yeah, like all red, the color red, just wearing the color red.
Ah,
That was like my color in 2018. I wore red all the time. That's an endless trend that's never gonna be outdated. That's always gonna be around.
yeah, yeah. Single color silhouettes will forever be a thing.
Yeah, for sure. What's another trend I tapped into? Actually, it's so funny. Kevin asked me this question too not too long ago. The sneaker wedges. I had them. I definitely had them when they came out. Yup.
I hated the sneaker wedges. Back then, I hated them. I haven't seen them come back, but
It was short-lived, but I definitely hopped
I
on it.
despise
I
them.
had the Isabel Marant ones. They were sexy at the time. They didn't live too long though.
Like that, but see, you get a pass because you're really short for people that haven't
I
met you in
had really
person.
small feet, so it was so cute.
Yeah, I just wasn't a fan. I don't know why, but I saw them and I was
But
like,
like now I can't even see a wedge. I don't even want to see a girl wearing if you're wearing wedges, that's it. Like you're no.
yeah, that's which kind of ties back. The statement I'm about to make is tends to the next point that we're going to discuss, but like that's definitely a trend I do not want to see come back in any
Yeah,
capacity.
same. Not at all. I also want
So
this whole Y2K trend to end. I hate it. I need it to end.
you mean like the baggy coming back,
The
or
and the flat. I don't know why flats are coming back. I never liked them. I don't know why they're coming back. I need that to end as well.
yeah, I'm not crazy about the baggy and like
Then the slips, and I
I'm
need you
not
to
crazy.
try. I
Yeah,
need
I'm
you to
not
try.
crazy about the baggy, and I'm not crazy about even though I haven't really seen like normal people do it, but like the oversized sneaker look, like
Mm-hmm.
that Drake does a lot. So it's like baggy, but you
Mm-hmm.
can still see his sneaker. So it's like, wait, how bulky
How
is the sneaker really
exactly.
is? It's
Exactly.
weird. It looks like I don't know. It just looks weird. Like I don't know.
I
So
agree.
what are some trends that you wish can come back, and what are some trends that you wish can die forever, like the wedges?
Like the wedges. Flats can die forever. Don't need them. They don't ever need to come back. What's a trend that I want to come back? That's a good question. I feel like the velour suits, we need those back. And good sweaters, good quality sweaters. Like the cable knit, like you remember in the 80s in the movies, they always had those great cable knit style sweaters that look like they were suit. They don't make sweaters like that anymore.
This is true. And if they do, and we've had this discussion like a while back, but like
Mm-hmm.
if they do, like they're absurdly overpriced. And
Over,
it's
right.
like, bro, I know you're mass producing this. Why is this like $200?
Exactly. I
And like,
miss that.
yeah, it's OD. So it's like a big thing that I was falling back in love with, or I guess it's not necessarily a trend, but like that 50s, 60s sort of like cable knit, waffle
Oh,
knit, like
yeah.
style from like that era. Like you saw a lot of
Yes.
that in like polos or whatever. But like
Mm-hmm.
the brands that I would get them from, and I'm not gonna shout them out because I don't want nobody shopping where I shop. But like the brands that,
Gatekeep that shit.
yeah, I'm big on gatekeeping. Like I don't really discuss where I be getting stuff. Except for Mifflin because black owned, so they deserve
Right.
every penny. But like they'll be asking for like $150, $200 for a polo, and it's like, bro, I could only wear this for like 2 months.
Right.
What are we doing?
No, for real. Bring back great sweaters, great quality sweaters, please.
Yes. Which reminds me, and I can't find a picture of this anywhere in the internet, but you're a few years younger than me, so you may have been in junior high. But you
Mm-hmm.
remember the Ralph Lauren zip up hoodies that had like the big R on them?
Yes.
I
Yes.
haven't seen them in
Yes.
decades. That needs to come back.
That needs to come back. Yes, it does. I know exactly what you're talking about. And the leather and the letter would be like a different color.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like, it'll
yeah.
be white and then the R
Yep.
would be
And then the
red.
red.
But it was a
Yes.
Chanel patch, so it was like quality stuff. Like
Yes.
those, you can't find a picture of those on the internet
And
at all,
no,
and they're not selling them. They're not bringing it back.
damn.
Like that's a trend that I would like to see back, or at
Yes,
least a piece I would like to see back.
I agree.
Yeah, because I'm big on sweaters. You always need
Me
a good
too.
sweater, especially living in the Northeast, because it's like
Yep.
you have a nice sweater, but then like kind of go light on the coat because you bundling
You
up. Like,
bundling up so you don't have to be so bulky. The sweater matters.
yes.
Yes.
So even though you're an expert in your field, what were
Mm-hmm.
like some fashion like faux pas? Like, yo, you look back and I was like, I really wore this. Like, what
Uh,
the hell was I thinking?
when I was in my heels era, oh gosh, what was I thinking? Some of those heels that I bought, I honestly bought just to buy. I don't know. I was like,
And what facet was it? Like, the style of the heel was bad, the
yeah,
quality was
the
bad.
the just they were just super uncomfortable. I there wasn't
Mm,
people be like, oh, after a couple hours. No, it's like the minute I put my foot in, I'm in pain. What do you mean? This is crazy. And they were like super thin, like Louis Vuittons. I don't know why the hell I did that.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that was torture.
Yeah.
Torture.
Funny enough, I follow this guy. I don't even know why I follow him because I don't even buy leather goods like that. But I follow this guy on TikTok. I don't know
Hmm.
what country he's from, but he's from like some European country. But he's like an expert on leather craftsmanship. I guess you,
Oh.
yeah. So he'll like buy pieces from all the different brands, Coach, what name brands, like all the major brands. He'll
Hmm.
deconstruct the piece and he'll tell you like, okay, they spent, this is like 2.5 yards of leather. Uh, the metal pieces aren't really metal. This is actually aluminum, yada, yada, yada. And it's like
Hmm.
based off of the kind of work that they put into the piece, the labor would kind of roughly be like maybe $20, $50, $100, or whatever. So he'll break it down to like, hey, based off the leather, based off of the accessories that's on it, and based on how it was crafted, this
Mm.
piece is actually worth X amount of dollars. But if it's a
Oh,
high brand, then you probably paid like $2,000 for this piece, and it's like this is only really like $150 worth of work.
that's crazy.
I'll send you his
Ooh.
because he'll do like everything. He'll do like bags. He'll do. I just saw a video where he did some heels, and it was like he was deconstructing it. I think it was Louis Vuitton, and I think it was like $800. But I didn't
Mm-hmm.
watch the whole thing to know how much it would cost. Yeah,
No, I
I'm
like that because it's all about the quality of your product too. Like, why am I gonna listen to somebody if all they do is shop polyester? Girl, bye.
right, right. And I've noticed a trend of like the big brands you're paying more money and you're not getting quality items. And then like for a long period of time, people would joke on like Coach, and I think he did like a Coach bag, and it was like this bag was like $250 is actually worth like $200. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you really got your money's worth out of a
Worth,
piece
right.
versus,
Okay.
a bigger brand that you
Also,
probably
that's a
spent.
good that's a good rebrand too. Shout out Coach.
Yes, yes, they've been
I
doing
fuck
good
with that.
work.
Yeah, I fuck with that rebrand. Mm-hmm.
We kind of touched on this a little bit, and then we've had our conversations about this outside of the pod, but like men's fashion and women's fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we spoke on the previous show. You mentioned how you typically, because of your shape, you shop more for like in the men's section
Yep.
because things will fit you better and
Yep.
things of that nature. And then you also just discussed like all this fashion stuff. Like it's not really that much quality brands for women to like shop at.
Nah, and if there are, they all been look they like just all been looking the same right now. Like I
Mm,
remember COS used to be like a great spot to go to because they felt different. And
mm,
now I walk in there and I'm like, did I just walk into H&M? Like what's happening? Like
right.
it's weird shopping in store now. Like I've been trying lately and I don't know what's going on. But like men, what I love about men clothes is that the pants. One, I hate the fact that pants are expensive for you guys because holy shit, it is nuts. I like men pants and looking at those prices like 250, 260, like
Yeah, it's nuts. I can give you a brand that I shop from that's decently priced. I don't know
I
if it'll fit you, but there's a brand that I shop specifically from
I
that I
promise I
do.
won't share. I'll gatekeep it too. I have
Yeah,
no problem gatekeeping also.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I'll
yeah,
share, but to a certain
the
extent.
only the only brand for jeans that I validate is Nudie because they actually
Yeah.
put the work in. So it's like
Oh
that
yeah,
buck
yeah.
50, $200
Yeah.
for them jeans.
And
Like
I
you
see
getting your
that.
money's worth. Yeah.
Right.
And it's like part of their messaging. Like a lot of
Yeah.
these other brands, like they're just relying on their name. They're not actually telling you like, hey, we put in the kind of labor to make this like a quality piece that's supposed to be in your wardrobe for
Right.
years to come. Right,
For
right, right.
sure.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
definitely. I don't think enough is spoken about like how expensive it is for
And I don't
men
think
in
that's
terms of
right because it's
shopping.
so easy for women to shop because it should do be cheap for them, and that's why they take that cheap route. But like men, the thing about but men, they want their good quality clothes. Like at least the men that I know, they
Yeah,
want good
yeah.
quality clothes. So like there's money in that, and that shit sucks. But they get the pants down packed. Like just as a woman with curves, I like that I
Hmm.
can tie, insinuate my hips, my waist, and get the and tie it, and know that my pants doesn't get that weird gap feeling. I know that they're not gonna fall down. That I gotta keep picking
Hmm.
them up. Like the pockets are amazing. I don't know who told designers that women need small pockets in their jeans or pants, but that is not it. I need my pockets. Like,
Speaking of pockets, one thing I hate brands that make outerwear and don't have enough pockets in them.
me too. Like, why doesn't this coat have a freaking inside pocket? That's crazy.
Oh my god, I hate
I
like any
hate
jacket.
that.
Yeah, any jacket that I have and it don't have an inside pocket, I'm
It's a
mad
no,
because then
it's
now
yeah.
now I have to go to seamstress or cleaners to put a pocket in it because it's like, yo, like
That
where am I
shit is
supposed to put my
where
phone, my
exactly.
wallet? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I
I
got
agree.
stuff on me. Like, yeah,
I
I
agree.
pockets are a major necessity.
Yes.
Pockets are a major necessity. So I know currently your website is down right
Hmm.
now. Do you feel as though like blogging is still a thing? Like now that social media has become so prominent,
Mm.
Like, do you feel like there's still a healthy population that will take the time out to actually go read about certain things? Because your audience is women, so women are completely
Right,
different than men. I don't
right.
think any man is going to go to any blog. I don't even know where men really get like their
I don't
fashion
know
sense,
neither. I
to
think
be
they just listen to the Joe Budden podcast.
that's nasty work. That's disgusting. Yeah.
That's where they go. They don't have a blog that they can go to.
So yeah, do you feel like, well, one, will you return to blogging at some point, and two,
Yes.
do you like still feel like women will still actually care to read the content that you have to share?
I believe that I have a solid community that will still read if when I do come back for my blog. I don't necessarily know if blogging is still a thing. I don't really know anyone who is still doing it.
Mm.
I know there's one blogger that I do follow, Marone Steele, which is amazing. Everybody should follow. She's a great Black content creator. I'm heavy on the fashion, very luxury too. But she blogs, and I love that. I love that I see her still doing it. There are OG like bloggers that now shifted into the newsletter realm, which I can completely understand that because I had fun when I had my own newsletter. So, which is how I'm slowly making my way back, starting with my newsletter and then bringing my blog back. But I miss it. I want to bring it back. I miss having the conversation, just typing it out. So yeah, I'm definitely coming back, and I hope that we can do it again and
Do it better.
focus and do it better and work on our attention span, because I know social media has us wanting 10-second videos, 15-second videos, but we are declining in reading, and I need us to get back into that.
Yes, yes. It's
So
yeah, that's a great,
I need us to get back into reading. So here's to that.
yeah, yeah. The reading comprehension skills are at all-time
At
low.
all time. One of my friend's birthday party, and like I found like these readers, these book readers, and we were in our own little nook, and it was the greatest conversation I had in a really long time, where we was just like, "What book was that? Oh shit!" And it was just an amazing conversation. They opened my mind to different genres of books to look into, so I'm excited to tap into that.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And you made a great point about like people turning into newsletters. And I didn't even realize that until you said it. Because it's like myself, I wouldn't necessarily read a blog unless it's like specific information that I'm looking for. But funny enough, for the kind of content that I take in, whether it's sports related or like more informational stuff like project management or whatever the case
Right.
is, I'll sign up to a newsletter because if there's relevant info in there, yeah, that's interesting.
I
Because it's
love
like
a good newsletter.
we kind of went away from reading, but then it's kind of like coming back
Mm-hmm.
in certain ways. It's kind of almost like, we left vinyl, then left cassettes to
Mm-hmm.
CDs to like
Mm-hmm.
streaming, and now like vinyl is a hot item
Hot as
again.
a hot, yes, again.
Yes, because I got mad vinyl in my house. So, in your experience or over your time as like blogging and being an influencer, what was like that first big win? Was it like, oh, I reached a certain number on social media, or I had X amount of comments on a blog post? Like, what was like that first major win where it was like, oh, like I'm really doing this?
To be honest, I feel like when it was like when people would recognize me and tell me like how much they like I changed their way they think about like, or I inspire them to do something, or
Mm-hmm.
especially when I used to, before it became a trend, when I used to talk heavy on mental health, just having, I feel like that was my big moment where I was like, okay, I'm finally
Have an
connecting with
impact.
people and having an impact. um at first it was like my big pay or like my big following, but honestly none of, especially in today's economy, none of that shit matters. It was the impact that I was doing that I was like, oh, okay, this is all right. I'm heading down the right path. This is where I need to be.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's what's up. Because even I would say for me, like there was a point in time in podcasting with like previous shows, like I really cared about the numbers. But then I really realized like my impact was like when people would stop me, even though it's only happened like a few times, but like people
Mhm.
would stop me in the street or were like, "Yo, ain't you such and such?" I'm like,
Mhm.
wait, like you
What?
listening?
Right, right, right.
Because you really don't know who's really paying
Pay
attention.
att- and that's it right
And
there.
not only you don't know who's paying attention, like okay, New York is a big place, but it's also small at the same
Small,
time.
yep,
So it's like people could see people out and about all the time, but it's
all the
like it
time,
takes
right,
another level for somebody to willingly be like, I'm going to actually mention or say something to this person. So it's like,
right,
oh, okay, like that's nice. That's
right.
nice. I'm actually doing something out here. Were there any moments where you made a mistake in your career? Like you may have said something on a blog or you said something on social media and it's kind of like, whoa, like I got to take this back. Like or I don't know, anything from your career where it's like, I dropped the ball here and you learn from it and it's like, now I'm doing better because of it.
I wouldn't say necessarily on social media, but I think overall, just like, actually, yeah, when I would comment, like make comment to like the negative or the trolls,
Mm-hmm.
where I would like go above and beyond, and like also Marcy would come out basically like, you fuck with the wrong one. That's what I would say was probably like my lowest moment, giving them access to that. Because now, like, you see me, I either take a screenshot to make fun of them and my close friends, and then I delete the comment because it's like I'm not
Right.
giving you the attention that you're clearly looking for. Back then, I used to, so like that would be like
Mm.
my one regret is giving it the attention it didn't deserve. But I mean, I said what I said, so I don't care. I'm not taking nothing back.
No, sometimes people catch you at the wrong time.
You feel me? Like,
But yeah, thankfully, I've always been kind of the same of like, I'm not even going to dignify this with a response. Like, I'm going to ignore you. Like, you're
right. Like, oh, you want to be
not,
stupid? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Like, you just showing how poor of an individual you are.
Right.
Like, I ain't
Exactly.
got time. I ain't got
I
time.
don't.
So, with that being said, I'm sure has there been any misconceptions about you or like your status? Like people assume that you're a certain type of individual because
Mm-hmm.
of, you see other people who like carry themselves a certain way. So sometimes as a consumer, you just assume like, oh, everybody in that field is like that. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I've known you like for a long period of time, had no idea of like, not necessarily your status, or it's like I have no idea of like how impactful you really are because of
Mm-hmm.
course you're the focal point of your business, so you're
Mm-hmm.
aware of certain things, but it's like you've always been a regular person to me, never treated me any kind of way, but like have other people like had misconceptions about you or think because you may have, oh, this brand deal here and this brand deal here, like, oh, you could, people may hit up your phone like, yo, such and
Right.
such just dropped, like what's good, like you could, get me into certain doors or
Mm-hmm.
hook me up with such and such. Like, has that happened to you?
Definitely. I feel like the biggest misconception is that people think that because of other influences, like I'm gonna be like the stuck up bitch or sorts. Like I may not be like all bubbly and open you up like that, but I'm gonna treat you with kindness first, because again, I don't know you enough to be like, oh, I'm gonna treat you like shit. I don't know you, why would I do that? So I
Right.
always show kindness. So like when people be like, oh my God, I didn't think you were so nice, or I didn't think you were so kind, oh my God, you're so funny, and it's like, yeah, like this is me. Like like, yeah, this is me. Sorry that you felt I was gonna be stuck up, but I'm not that person. And then when I go to influencer events, I'm like, I see why they think that of me. Cause damn, why you
Yeah,
gotta fucking act like that?
yeah, that
And
makes
I've
sense.
been in intimate dinners where they would sit me with like other people in the industry, and like I'll try to be that bubbly person and like introduce myself and make conversation. It's like, all right, you about to get me out of character, so I'm just not gonna say anything else anymore. We just gonna leave it as that.
Yeah, that
And
makes
then when I
sense.
look at their profile, I'm like, oh, because they're in the 100K, they feel the need to act this way.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
sucks. It sucks, but it the shit gets clicky. It's very clicky, and you just gotta know the right people to be around.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know how much it is like that still in the podcast community in New York, but I remember, years ago, I'll be in certain network events and like, even if they don't necessarily act a certain way, but you could sense people's energy and like, oh, because you're probably a little bit more popular than the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
people here, like you carrying yourself a certain way or,
Exactly.
you act a certain way in some instances. So that kind of completely
Exactly.
makes sense. I believe it was 2019, you decided to rebrand. You, for a
Yes.
long period of time, you referred to yourself as Brooklyn Petite, but
Mm-hmm.
then you decided, like, nope, I'm just going to go by my government name.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything that specifically happened that made you want to make that change? Or was it just like, I'm getting older. I don't need any monikers. I don't need any
That's
nicknames.
the
Like,
one right there.
I'm just going to be me. And
Yep.
then with that, like, how much work or how much planning went into like that whole process? Because I feel like as a creative, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like as a creative, I've always been constantly rebranding stuff. Like things could
Oh,
never be perfect.
right.
It's
No,
only
absolutely.
perfect for a certain period of time, and then it's like, you know
And
what?
then
I want to
it's
change it
time to
up a
change
little
it
bit.
up. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, when a painter, they let it sit there until they feel like it's completed. And even when it is completed, they feel like it's not all the way done. But that's how I
Hmm.
feel like with my own brand. It's like at that time I was like Brooklyn Petite was great, and I was able to make myself welcomed in that space. But as I was getting older, I was like, okay, I want people when they see me, they don't be like, oh, you're Brooklyn Petite. No, I'm Vero.
Hmm.
Or you're Vero Bonilla. Like I want you to say my name, not Brooklyn Petite. And I also
Right.
wanted to introduce, like, have my own ecom. And I was battling with that, like, what should I name it? What should I name it? Oh, I don't need to make such a big switch. I'm still Brooklyn Petite, but this is just now my brand, like my vintage brand. I'm just Vero Bonilla now. And it was an easy switch, but it took like about like 4 to 6 months to just make the payments
Mm-hmm.
on the website, complete it, make sure that I was very firm on it because I like to, okay, I want to do this. Okay, I want to do that. I like to
Hmm.
go back and forth. So I wanted to make sure that I was 100%. This is what we're going to do. And thank God it was an easy transition and it wasn't nothing too confusing or crazy.
That's what's up. Yeah, because when I think about it, I've never necessarily had a nickname for myself. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
for most of my socials, actually, I did have one. I'm not going to repeat it, but I had nicknames that I used in the past. But then after a while, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm over this. When you address me by
See,
my
my
name.
name, exactly.
Don't consider me in any other aspect. Like, this isn't a and like it's my brand, but it's not necessarily a
Certainly. Right.
brand. This is not a character. This. It's me. This is
Right,
me.
right,
This is
right.
me. So I get that standpoint or that viewpoint with that. So with that being said, talk about like the battles with social media. Like I'm part of your close friends. I've seen, I mean, I think there's a healthy level of ignorance that we all have with certain things. And then, like you mentioned, like sometimes when people do piss you off or catch you in the wrong moment, you,
Delete it.
the way to express yourself is to just let it out, but not
Yes.
necessarily to the masses.
No.
So that's one layer of it. And then also, like, the battles of, like, little stuff of like how vocal should I be about certain things that I'm passionate about, or
Mm-hmm.
in instances of like the one thing that I've always noticed that always would piss me off. Which, funny enough, I forgot who Instagram I was on, but it was like, oh, somebody posted something. It was like, yeah, if you want this piece or whatever, tap the link in my bio. And then all the comments is like, what's the link? What's the link? What's the link? So it's like, how do you deal with like some of the, I don't want to call it necessary evils, but like how do
Mm-hmm.
you balance like managing or a part of your business is through social media. So how do
Yeah.
you deal with that?
Definitely balance. I do take my breaks when it's necessary because it can get so overwhelming and it can burn you out super quick. But when it comes to like the ignorance, it's like, all right, I'll have my little joke on it because I want to be funny too. So like
Hmm.
I'll keep that between like, my close friends. We'll hee ha ha about it, but like you are either gonna get blocked or you're gonna get other comments just gonna get deleted.
Right.
But in the beginning I used to pay it so much attention, like because it's like if you have nothing nice to say, just don't just pass it. Why
Right.
do you have to stop and make the was it necessary for you to make the comment? Like you feel better about yourself? Like when I see when I see shit that I don't fuck with, I just scroll on by. I don't like everything because for the sake of, oh, let me just like it. No, I'm not trying to give the wrong message here. Like I don't fuck with this content. I'm not liking it. And
Right.
I wish people would do that. I wish everybody thought that's like the same way, but they don't. They always feel the need to make silly comments, but I just simply ignore or delete it.
No, I agree. I think that's the proper approach with it. So then, with social media, like, how has the landscape changed for you once you started posting early on and like sharing your content versus
Hmm.
like now? You have ad posts, you have, get ready with me. Is like there's
Yeah.
so much that has changed just with social media in general and like your approach of it or your approach with social media as a blogger and influencer.
Yeah, it definitely forced me to have to think outside of my box because I loved taking photos. Like I loved being able to tell a story through the photos, picking out the outfits, shooting it, and just shifting into this whole video thing.
Hmm.
Oh, it was like I wasn't really a big fan of showing too much of my personality through video, like mind your business type shit. But I had to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So just making that shift alone, and then when TikTok came around, I was like, oh my Lord, I'm too old for this shit. Like, what am I doing right now? But just finding my comfortable route because I feel like in TikTok, you either gotta know how to cook, be funny, and know how to dance. Like, those are the only things I see that get like go viral for the most part, but like changing up my algorithm with TikTok so that it made me more comfortable to be like, okay, all right, this is my little safe haven. I can post what
Hmm.
I want to post. I feel good about this. But I think it's super important to also control your algorithm, like what you want to
Yes.
see, what you don't want to see, because that when you see too much of something, you're like you really it makes you not want to be on the app.
This is very, very true. I've always been somebody who's tried to manage the kind of content that I see as much as possible. Like, of
Right.
course, there's certain things like you just can't avoid. Like, there's just certain things that just overtake news in every facet. And so
Hmm.
everybody responds to it. But for the most part, a lot of stuff I just avoid altogether because it's like, I don't want to. And it doesn't even have to be anything like OD. It's just like, you know what? There's just certain ignorant stuff that I'd rather just not consume in any capacity. Like, I'm
Right.
good. I'm good. So I'm somewhat familiar, and I think there's various POC bloggers and influencers who have talked about the industry and like whether it's sexism or racism that they've had to deal with or discrimination in whatever capacity, whether
Hmm.
it's a shape, size, height, whatever the case is, like there's definitely been people who have been vocal about that.
Hmm.
Why do you feel as though like representation is still a struggle in the industry, even though it's something that gets discussed often and like it's not like hey people aren't talking about this anymore. It's like people are being very vocal about the things that they're experiencing. But
Right.
so it's like why is that representation still a struggle in your opinion?
I think it's still a struggle because these companies just don't care. They know that they can find someone else that's gonna do the job. And that's
Hmm.
what sucks is that it's always gonna be that person that's gonna be like, "Oh my God, yeah, I'll totally do it." Even though there's no repercussion, you don't even know what fight is going on right now. Like, don't take the job with this company because at the end of the day, they really don't care about you. And
Right.
they continue to show that. And that's why it's so important to keep calling out these brands All right, you said Black Lives Matter, but what happened now? Like, where's that, like, Clinique, like, sorry, I don't want to name any brand, but that's
Hmm.
just a brand that I would never want to work with because they did the whole performative action, and
Right.
then your team is still looking very fair.
Right.
There's no POC part of the team. Like, that's the issue.
Yeah. And I think that's an issue regardless of the industry. The lack of diversity,
So strong.
especially from decision makers, is why that kind of behavior still exists. Because yeah, maybe there is a brand that wants to do certain things, but because they don't have a diverse leadership group, they're
Hmm.
just completely unaware of how they're not contributing or how they're not being as inclusive as the world is right now or as
Right.
inclusive as they should be. It's
Exactly.
very alarming in all facets.
Oh, and it's like it's 2023. Come on. Like, why are we still like what's not clicking? Like, that's what is
Yeah.
not clicking? Like, you want to be this ignorant. Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
sticking by it. Cool. All right. Which is why I respect these brands paving their own way. Topical, the Black Fashion Cancel. You don't want us on the table, bet we gonna make our own.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what it's come to.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this on the podcast that we attempted to start.
Yes.
You had started one right before the pandemic. And that was the first time I heard this phrase before, and it like completely blew my mind. But for those that are unaware, like, why is net 30, net 45, net 90, etc.? Like, why is that pay schedule so problematic?
It is such the reason why it's so problematic is because they don't request the content in net 30 in 30 days, 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
They want that immediately. Oh, we signed you today. I want it by tomorrow, EOD. Okay, I want my money by tomorrow too when I submit it.
Right.
Why do I have to wait to get paid for content that I already shot and I gotta wait? You mean tell me I gotta wait up to 3 months to get paid for it?
Yeah,
When
that's nuts.
you were like you were on me to post it.
Mm-hmm.
And even when people that I have known that work in corporate try to explain it to me, maybe I just refuse to believe it. But like I really they try to explain why, and it's just the whole like accounting situation, and it's like I still don't. It don't make sense. It don't make
Yeah, it
sense to
still
me.
don't make sense to me because you have employees for your institution, so they're paid on a regular basis. So
So why
how
can't
come you
right?
can't pay a freelancer?
And if I'm working directly with the brand, where's your money coming from? It's obviously coming from. I can understand third parties
Mm-hmm.
because you have to wait for them. Like, I can understand that, but if I am working directly with you, I know the money is in the house. Give it to me. Pay up. You're not waiting for nothing. The money came in already within 24 hours. Cut the check.
Yeah, yeah. It's very weird because it's like all of these brands, whatever the initiative is, like you have a budget for your campaign or whatever the cause is. So the cost for whoever you're outsourcing your work to, whether it's the photographer, videographer, the studio that you're shooting at, or what the models or whoever, like they're
Mm-hmm.
all a part of your budget. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm sure the studio that you're renting out is not waiting 30 days for their payment. Or maybe they
No.
are. Who knows? I don't know. But it's like, it's very weird when it's like you've already calculated the money up front before the campaign was even in production. So
Exactly.
why is it taking so long for people to get paid? And then it's
Exactly.
like the human aspect of it is all of these different vendors, like these are people who have lives. Like most of these, some if not most of these people are freelancers, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
we are they are dependent on those payments. It's similar to the writers and actors strike that has happened
Yeah.
of like there's
Yeah.
people are not getting paid and it's like, hey, I need my money to pay my rent. I
Right,
need my money to
exactly.
buy
So pay
groceries.
up.
Like I can't wait 30 days to buy my groceries. Like I need food now.
Right.
So it's just a really, I find it to be like very like predatory sort of behavior, and I don't understand like why something like that still exists in this day and age. And I would love to see some sort of like resolution, like
I agree because it's sometimes they say net 30 and I'm still waiting for my payment. And it's like, why? Now we're late. There was one time I got paid, I think it was like it was practically net 120 at this point. And they had the audacity to want to hire me again. And I said, I never want to work with you again. It literally took you forever to pay me from the first job.
mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting on that money and you want me to work with you again? It's the audacity for me because, again, it will be somebody to be like, yeah, sure, no problem, I'll do it. And that's the problem right there. We
Yeah,
accept the bare minimum
that's nuts.
and
And
it messes it up for someone like me that like I really thought this shit out. Like I like this brand. I wanna, but this is my rate. And then when you say yes, I gotta wait forever.
yeah, that's
Like,
insanity. That's insane.
why would I want to work with you again? I did my end. I gave it to you on time. Why can't you give me that same
Courtesy.
delivery?
But next, I would like to discuss your latest venture. And before we even get into that, I'm going to be 100% transparent and honest with you. And I've
Mm-hmm.
never told you this.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I'm going to ask you about movie puffs.
Yes.
When I first saw like your social media promotion of it, I could admit that I was jealous. And I
Mm-hmm.
was jealous for two reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, there were multiple attempts at us trying to create a podcast for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so for whatever reason, like it was the pandemic that happened, and then like you had different business stuff going on, like it never came to
Mm-hmm.
fruition. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of like, you know what? I ain't gotta ask this person. And maybe that's just me. And I'm sure you probably would have operated in the same realm. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
ask somebody multiple times to do something and just not working out.
And
Maybe
not
that's
working out.
the
Right.
universe is like, you know what? Y'all gotta chill. So that was one. And then I was like, wait, especially during the pandemic, I really started to become a huge fan of just like movies and TV. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching them prior and I'll have discussions, but I really started to like dig into like content and like really analyzing it. And then it was
Yeah.
like, damn, I should have came up with this idea first. And I was tight. But that being said, I fucks with y'all. Y'all have a great production.
Thank you.
And like, yeah, so like discuss how it got started, like what Movie Puffs is about for those
Mm-hmm.
who are unaware, like how the fan response has been and like what's next for the show.
No problem. So you follow me on Twitter. So you know I'm always gonna make commentaries no matter what it is that I'm watching. And I've been doing that for honestly since I've gotten Twitter, to be honest. That's where I like to drop my ideas down when I'm watching something. So Dave, my co-host,
Mm-hmm.
he followed me on Twitter. He didn't know that I was like into movies on the level that I was into. And he shot me a DM. He was like, yo, would you be down to like meet up? Like I have an idea. And I was like, and I've always wanted to do it too. So we met up. We was like, yo, we should do a podcast about movies. Like we were asking each other questions to make sure on what level of like we were as far as movies and TV shows go. So
Mm-hmm.
that conversation went so beautifully that I was like, yo, this is perfect. Like we should do this. And that was we started coming up with some ideas for the name. We're both potheads, we smoke. So we was like, yo, movie buff, movie puffs, that's fucking great. We should
Mm-hmm.
do that. And that's how it all got started. Starting season one, I was so nervous. Oh my God, I was so nervous.
Really? Why
I was
is that? Because
I
you've done podcasts before, and like I mentioned, like we were working
But it
on a
was a
couple.
bigger crew. It was like more
Mm,
people, more eyes, more people that are familiar with like the cinema world. I was actually gonna be in front of the camera, so like it was something new, so I was nervous about it. But
gotcha.
like now going into season three, oh my God, it's just I'm so happy that we made this happen. I'm so excited to where Movie Puffs is going to go. We have
Mm-hmm.
so many ideas, and everyone that plays a part in the show is just truly amazing. Down to the writers. He told me he had writers in there. I was like, oh, this is like, oh, we
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was just gonna be okay, just me and you thing. He said, no, we got writers, we got producers, I was like, oh, okay. All
I
right, we doing this.
see, and that's why I love about content creation, or I like specific individuals who like take their stuff seriously. Like we've all come across content of various types, production types, and of course, some people, a lot of times, like you could only work with what you got, and like
Right.
these things are not necessarily cost effective. Like it takes time. Sometimes it takes a lot of money
Money.
or whatever. But for the
Right.
ones that's like really passionate and like, look, I want it to look a certain way. I want it to
Yes.
feel a certain way. I want it to have a specific tone. And it's like getting the right people to like all come together and like work on something universally. And it's
Right.
like, listen, like we are going to make this like a legit production. Like
Right.
you gotta appreciate that. You gotta
Right.
appreciate that versus the people who just like, yeah, let's just get a camera and just turn it on and see what
Exactly.
happens.
And let's just see, yeah, let's just see what happens and do some I swear these podcasts nowadays where they're going. There's a few good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
There's a
few.
few good ones.
You know
Yeah.
which ones I'm enjoying the two London accent ones. It's one dark skin guy, one light skin guy. I can't.
Oh, you talk about sits and gigs or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
something like that. I
They
enjoy their content.
they are wildly ignorant, but it's
It's
hilarious. It's
hilarious.
hilarious because they're being ridiculous.
Yes. So I
Being
enjoy
ridiculous.
like funny things like that. But with yeah, Movie Puffs is, and for anyone who's listening, it's a safe haven for pot lovers who love movies, who appreciate cinema, who appreciate the music behind cinema, the directors. It's a fun, safe space to come and enjoy good quality discussions.
Yes, I've tuned into several episodes.
Appreciate you, yeah.
I make sure to
You're gonna come
interact
on
on
the pod. You're
social.
definitely
I'm
we're
I
working on
mean,
season
listen,
three's layout. We're finalizing the episodes. You are a guest for sure. Once we finalize
listen,
the
man.
episode and questions,
I'm humbled that I was
yes.
considered. Listen, man, like you're doing great
Thank you.
work.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
How has the fan response been?
Oh, so good. So good. One of the things, first thing I did too was an event. Hosted events for Movie Puffs, bringing in the community, seeing them, it's our baby right now. So like seeing them pull through. We had two followers who came from Florida
Wow.
to the Movie Puffs event. Granted, they are OG followers of mine, but they followed the page and they saw the event
Mm,
and came down because they were already in New York. So that was amazing to see. The producer that we just signed aboard, she was a fan of the show. So her being a fan and
mm-hmm,
wanting to be part of it was so amazing because she already knew where we started and she sees where we can go.
mm-hmm,
So that was nice to see. The engagement is nice when they realize the new things that we drop and they appreciate it and they're like, yo, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I love it. Keep it going. Seeing those comments, I love those. But we're having so much fun and it's also helping me step out of my comfort zone. Cause I'm hella funny, but I refuse to show that on social media. I refuse to show that on social media because funny is also subjective, and
right, right. Offend anybody.
I'm not trying to get canceled now. But I love that I can tap into that side of me more while when I'm doing movie puffs.
That's dope. That's dope. And it's kind of crazy that like people go out of town for like Beyonce concerts or Drake concerts or whatever,
Right.
and it's like, you know, I mean, I don't want to call y'all little in any capacity, but it's
Nope,
like
like
y'all now on the
yo,
same
little
level of
me,
like, yeah,
right?
like y'all now on the same level as like these entertainers or whatever, and like people are catching flights, even if they were going to be in New York already. They put
Right.
in as part of their agenda that hey, while we're in town, we have to be at such and such
So,
event.
exactly,
Or who
exactly.
knows? Maybe their plans were scheduled for a different time, but they saw like, hey, they're doing this event at this time. We're going to move our plans according to
Right.
that. Like that's what's up,
Exactly.
yo, and it's well deserved. Y'all deserve
Thank
all
you.
the love and praise that y'all get. So I definitely got a few more questions here, but transitioning, if you weren't a blogger or influencer, like
Mhm.
what do you think you would be doing and what would you have liked to do?
I'll
Two-
definitely
Go ahead.
I'll definitely be in the fashion world, but more
Mm,
in the corporate. And so I would either be like a lead visual, I'll do the windows, visual merchandisers, I'm creating the floor plans because I was kind of already heading in that direction and I
mm-hmm.
saw the potential, but it's corporate America. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I definitely would have been in that realm, but what I would have like to have tapped more into is the design aspect. I would have liked to create, be a creative director for for a brand.
Okay. Okay. I could see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could definitely see that for you. Of like God rest his soul, but like being a Virgil and like
right.
leading off the creative direction of a brand and like making sure that they appeal to certain markets or just even just being like the not a tastemaker, but like being quality control of like
Yeah.
hiring specific people who
Yep.
are the creatives who can come
Yep.
up with designs and concepts and like being the one to filter is like, no, this doesn't work,
This
or
doesn't
here's a
exactly.
tweak I can make for this. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see you doing that. I could see you doing that. So with that being said, like what are some goals that you, if you wish to mention, like you're
Yeah.
looking to achieve in like the next couple years, whether it's 5, 10 years, whatever the case is, like what are some things that you want to like check off your list?
Um, for start, I just tapped into it now recently. A social media manager for like brands, creating the helping them create good quality content. I feel like I did it so well for myself. I have so many ideas that I would like to release to
Mm-hmm.
help other people who just can't grasp the idea of social media or just doesn't have the time for it. Don't worry, I got you. Let me take care of that. So that's part of my next 5-year plan, tapping into that, building a solid portfolio in that. And I'm happy to have my foot in that door already. I believe in movie puffs being the next Comic Con, but we have it for the sake of weed lovers. So it can be a convention for both with the potential of Jay-Z popping by. I mean, he has his weed brand, so I don't see why he wouldn't stop by.
Put it out in the universe.
Right, exactly. What else do I see? I see I'm going back to school to become an esthetician. I want to create my own like facial spa. I love skincare, love talking about it, love all products, things like just learning about them and skin concerns. And I feel like I can dominate in that realm. And I wanna try it. Why not? If not now, then when?
Yeah, you only live once, so you may as
Right.
well do whatever you feel like you
I
should
want
be
to like
doing.
I want to do things outside of Vero Bonilla. Like I don't see myself doing continuing that brand forever. I love it, but it's not my forever, and I want to tap into other those other realms and have a solid foundation.
That's interesting that you say that because I was thinking about this earlier, but it's going to be very interesting to see, and this kind of ties into the next question I have. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the industry changes for you all in like the next
Oh,
5 to 10 years. Because for the people, in my opinion, that are like really dominant, or in my opinion, people that I appreciate the content that they make,
mm-hmm.
you all are like within a similar sort of age group of like on the
Mm-hmm.
cusp of 30, a little bit over 30 or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
as I've also seen that people around our age, as we get older, we start to care less about social media and start to
Yes.
use it less. So
Yes.
it'll be interesting to see like how all of the different women in those fields navigate and shift as they start to use social media less, and then it's like, okay, what are the other avenues for them? And I guess you got some of y'all are already starting that in like releasing your own products and different
Mm-hmm.
things, but it's like we can't all release products because it's
Right.
like, you know,
Also,
the marketing.
a lot of us aren't built for that entrepreneurship lifestyle, to be
Right.
honest. The customer service ain't even there half the time.
Right. So it's gonna be very interesting. So it's like you do have like older women who are like on social media and are influencers and whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But it's like the 30-year-olds have a probably different perspective versus the 40-year-olds on how they are managing their brand or what they're looking for
Hmm.
moving forward. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how the industry shifts, which ties into the next question of like, if you had the power, what would be the things that you would like to see shifted in the industry?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like one of the things I wish can definitely shift in the industry is the whole exposing your child like in
Mm,
the social media world. I feel
interesting.
like creating the page for your child and like having that commenting on it's you commenting on your own post. That
Yeah.
it's not necessary. We shouldn't be posting our what school they go to, all that information. We don't need to have that information online, not in this scary ass world.
Right.
Like, we need to shift that. We need to be able to not expose the youngins so early to what social media is about.
Mm-hmm.
And I want us to shift and not doing that anymore. Another thing is like the over editing of like with the filters
Mm-hmm.
and
That
and
still
the
happens.
that's still happening. That is still, especially on TikTok, heavenly,
Mm-hmm.
where that Dolly, that Pinky Dolly chick, the
Uh,
oh, ice cream so good. Like, she
yeah,
was
yeah.
a dark-skinned girl, but she put that filter on because I know I can get money if I look this way. I
Right,
want us to
right,
shift
right,
away from that because you can still get your money in your dark skin.
right.
It's clearly like you can still do it. So I want we gotta let the filters go because they're getting out of hand. Especially with
Mm-hmm.
AI and everything, and it's crazy how the more I go to like these summits and like I went to recently the Instagram summit and how they're using AI to create content in different other languages in different other countries, where it
Mm-hmm.
shows your lips also saying it in French when you're literally saying it in English, but the AI is transitioning it otherwise. Just using those face features is crazy to me.
Was that like just a general summit about AI, or is that like
It was
specifically
part of
targeting?
it. It
Oh,
was
okay.
they had like different conversations and that was one of them. And that everybody was excited. I was spooked the fuck out because
Mhm.
you know what I thought my Brooklyn ass, a scammer gonna take that and they gonna start calling everybody in different languages to get you,
Yeah, this
sounding like
is
somebody
yeah,
else. Like, it's scary.
yeah, but yeah, I didn't even think like how AI could be used in like the beauty industry. Like you really could
Oh,
just make various content for different
they
countries.
have
If
this
you,
Instagram page is called Billy, and they're using Kendall Jenner, and it's them pretending like a lifestyle coach. So you mean to tell me a robot now is going to tell me how to live my life? This is nuts. In the form of Kendall Jenner, but they're calling it Billy. It's scary.
I I have no words. Like it's just very alarming how humans make certain discoveries and then use it in the wrong way almost every
Every
time.
time.
It's like forget like I know you're a conspiracy theorist, but
Yes,
forget all
absolutely.
like the absurd like oh it's gonna be iRobot all over again and all this other nonsense. I don't believe that stuff could happen. If it whatever, I don't care. But it's like there's just so many other ways that technology could be used to like
Mm-hmm.
benefit people in a more positive light instead of like Like, who needs? Why are you getting lifestyle tips from AI? Like, when there's people that offer those services, I
I
don't know. I
It's so confusing.
I don't get it. I don't. This is why I just be minding my business.
Yep.
Well, to not necessarily, I call this the grand closing. It's
Hmm.
kind of like a rapid fire section, but it's not really. Like, if it takes
Okay.
you a while to generate any of these answers, it's totally fine.
Okay.
But these are just like random stuff wanted to ask before we end this off so nicely. But one song that represents your childhood, one song that represents your 20s, and then one song that probably speaks to you right now. That might be hard
Right.
to pull
Right.
off the spot.
Trying to think. Okay, growing up, one song would have to be Butterfly, Michael Jackson.
Hmm.
Yes, that song, I remember listening to it for the first time and it completely just changed my way of appreciating music, listening to the words.
Hmm. Okay. That's a good
Yes.
one. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
In my 20s, ooh,
Yes.
Man Eater. I'll go with Nelly Furtado, Man Eater.
Okay.
Yeah. Because mainly because I was ruthless. Like my 20s was traumatic, so I was just a mean in my early. I was a mean girl, so we're gonna go with that song. That's a.
I respect it. If it's accurate, that's all that matters.
And now I would say, mm, honestly, the entire album of Gold, Cleo Soul, that would represent me now.
Hmm. Good. For making these answers on the spot, those were three really good choices.
Yeah,
Three really good choices.
yeah.
Okay. What's a life hack that isn't spoken enough about or not to be considered or is not really considered a life hack, but it's a life hack to you?
A life hack. Damn.
See why I couldn't say it was rapid fire?
Yeah, that's a but it's a life hack right now. I think an important life hack, which was something that I used to do as a kid. You know when your mom would tell you prepare your outfit
Mm-hmm.
before the next day so you can just I think preparing yourself for great success the next day
Mm.
is the sweetest life hack. Like and when that can be anything, that can be your outfit, that can be your journal, setting it up in the area where you okay, I know I need to write tomorrow. Let me put this right here so that I know that this is what I like. Just setting yourself up for success the next day, the night before.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect hack that I think not a lot of people value.
This is true. Preparation is definitely like a lost art. I think
Yeah,
a lot of times we kind of just live aimlessly with no direction, and it's like, you do have ideas of what it is that you want to do, but then a lot of people fail to like really prepare themselves
yeah.
to act upon it or deal with it when it comes. So that's a good one. This one, I mean, I feel like this one might relate with everything that's going on right now, but if you could change one thing about society or the world, what would it be and why?
Mm, if I can change one thing, it would be letting all that hate go. There seems to be a lot of hate going on in the world, and we need more love
This is true. This is
and more
true.
empathy.
This is very true. Very,
Yeah,
very true. I agree with you a thousand
we
percent.
lack that for sure.
Yes. On so many fronts.
So
So
many.
many fronts. Yeah, it's mind boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Although we do speak about gatekeeping, I'm still going to ask, what's one restaurant that you feel like everyone should go to? And from that restaurant, what is like the one dish that you recommend?
Okay, Wayan, it's in Seoul, Wayan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Asian restaurant, Asian fusion restaurant, and I can't remember. I think is I I can't remember which ones exactly, but they have this lobster noodle that I think everybody, if you like spice, let me just make that out. If you like spicy food, they have this. lobster noodle that is orgasmic, and everybody should experience that. And they have a fried octopus that is delicious.
Okay, okay. I don't do
Every
seafood, but I respect
Okay,
it.
it's so good.
So I will not be attending. But everybody else should. And then the last thing I have on here, what is your wine or
Love this
cocktail that
question.
you feel like everybody should at least have?
Wine, everybody should have a glass of. I love a good dry red, so or like a blend, so like a Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon. Like I love that. Those are good
From any
classic.
specific winery or brand, or it doesn't
Just
even matter?
I would say from the like region Spain. If you can get it from Spain, that would be fantastic. They make the best red wine. The best.
Mm,
I recently just had a wine tasting in Austria. They make great white wine. I have a bottle of Chardonnay that I'm not ready to open yet, and I'm excited. I had the taste, and it is delicious.
okay, okay. I respect that. I got a coworker who's from Argentina, and he told me Argentina makes great wine. So I need to get
I believe
a
that too.
bottle.
Yeah.
He told me the specific, I think he told me the specific grape as well, which I also just learned that they're all named after different grapes. I did not know that
Yes.
beforehand.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I gotta find the name and I'll be sure to send it.
Okay,
Do
yeah.
you
I love me a good
also
wine.
want to do cocktail as well? I feel
Cocktail. I
okay.
feel like you can never go wrong with a spicy margarita.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
never go wrong with a spicy margarita.
Okay. You're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. I'm trying to think if I've been somewhere with a really, really good spicy marg. I can't think of anything right now. But I'm not mad at the answer. I'm not mad at that answer. Well, we're done. That's all the questions I have.
Yay.
I just want to thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank you for I don't even know how many years. I feel like it's been at least a decade.
It has to be 10 years. It has to be. It
It
feels like
has
it's,
to. I feel like yeah, it has to be like a decade of like
or at least
friendship.
we're hitting it.
Who knows? I
Who
don't. I have
knows?
no concept of time anymore. Time is not even real to me. Like
But we definitely
you
known
know.
each other for a very, very long time.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you for joining the show. Appreciate always your support with everything that I've done, and I've always supported
Absolutely.
you with everything that you've done. I appreciated all the times that we hung out and just eat well because that's what life is really about. Life is about good
Speaking of,
energy and